Over the last year or two, I have personally become very green-fingered, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to. I have become very into my garden and spending a lot of time there, naturally, as I'm sure a lot of us have been. I have really gotten into gardening, and it is something that I've found I really enjoy. But it has also got me thinking about how I can make my garden a much more cohesive part of the ecosystem. Of course, I want my garden to look nice, and I don't want to compromise that fact. There are certain aspects of the garden that I would like to keep functional, and I would like to keep it, just practical for my lifestyle. But at the same time, I would like it to be a little bit more friendly to wildlife, particularly for pollinators. So I have made a promise to myself that this year my garden will be the project of the summer. Some parts of this process are not going to be particularly pretty. It's going to require a lot of hard work. But in case any of you are having a similar thought process to myself, I have decided to bring you along on the journey. I also thought this could be quite good because my garden is quite average size. I don't have acres and acres of land to work with. I just have a normal sized garden. Obviously, this is a process that's going to take time. It's not going to be an overnight transformation. So I thought I would make this sort of like a mini series here on this channel, which I hope some of you will enjoy coming on the journey with me and maybe get a few ideas about your own garden along the way. Here's what we're starting off with. I've got this long sort of flower bed at the side of the house. I've got another one on the other side of the front door that's definitely standing in the way. So in here so far I've got this kind of bush thing. Don't know what that is. It was left here from when I moved in. In the flower bed so far I've got quite a lot of liatris that I planted last year. These are really good for the pollinators. They absolutely love them, and they should be coming out anytime soon. And then over here I've got a clematis, a white clematis that is doing really well actually. When I got that it was just a tiny little baby, so that's doing well. And then I put in these two sort of window boxes. Last year I planted in here quite a few perennials, so they should all come back. You can already see that my fuchsias are starting to come back in each of the baskets. So that'll be great when they start coming out. Then, as I say, over here I've got another bed. There is another clematis which is growing much taller. You can see that's really coming along. It's already bloomed, so that's sort of dying off now. Then I've also got loads more liatris. I've planted them all the way along there, and I've got a fuchsia there which has died off. I've got some more window baskets. This one isn't showing much sign of life. I'm just kind of waiting and hoping to see what that does. There's something a little bit green coming back. Let's see how that turns out. The other one is doing a bit better. I've got this pretty purple flower that's coming back, doing really well. So that's where I am with those areas there. Then I've got sort of like a pave, and then I've got this long sort of lawned area, which I am going to keep the lawned area because it's really good for the dogs. Then I have another really long flower bed along here. So basically what I started off with over here is I've put in, or I put in last year, quite a few hydrangeas. So you can see they're really coming back nice and green. They're a little bit later this year because of the frost. So, but they are just starting to flower again. So fingers crossed for those. So as I say, I've planted them all along here. I've got dahlias that I planted last year that are coming back. I've got a peony that has just been battered by the wind, so I'm not really holding up much hope for that. And then I've got this, which is basically it's dead, so I've got to try and pull that up so that I can plant something else in here. And then I've got a really tiny baby hydrangea. So for this bed, the other ones I'm still kind of thinking about what I would like to do, but this bed, what I would like to do is plant something around the edges that's going to be good for the pollinators. but that is still not going to be overwhelmed by the hydrangeas. At the moment, the hydrangeas are not really going to interfere with anything, but I'm just conscious that they might get quite big. So that's where I am with that area. So down here is looking really, really messy. It's sort of like a gravelled area. Over here, there did used to be a summer house which has just been taken down. I'm going to insert a picture of what it looked like before. It was literally just taken down yesterday, so hence why that looks like such a mess. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to gravel that over, level it out, so there's a nice sort of gravelled area here. And basically this area, I am going to try and turn into a nice area for potted plants, with the aim of focusing on plants that are going to be good for pollinators. So it's going to be sort of like a cut flower garden over here. I've got my stone bench just there and my bird bath. So they're not sort of positioned where they're going to be eventually. They'll get moved around. It's just really starting to get windy. So I think the tidying up of this area is going to be my first job. Wish me luck with that. And then over here, if I step back, you can see there is a trellis all the way along here, which has got what I think is some sort of like pussy willow or something like that along there. But the trellis is really, really battered and fallen apart. So eventually, hopefully, I can replace that. I really have to think about how I'm going to do that. So that's going to require some thought. Then over here I have a quite decent sized like patio area. So if I come in here, you can see it's quite a decent size. So the idea for over here is that I'm going to have sort of like a kind of like a seating area, but I also would like to make it an area for seating and raised beds. So I already have my one raised bed in here, which I'm just kind of starting off. This raised bed I actually got last summer from Sustainable Kerimia, so thanks a lot for that. It's really got me started. You can see my kales in there, and actually I had courgette in there last year, which did quite well, but loads of them are starting to come back up again. So again, one of my first jobs is going to be to move these about and give them a bit of space, because there are loads of them coming back up. So I'm going to change that. And then the idea for here is that I would like to put another raised bed here, but a sort of a thinner one, so it doesn't interfere with this great big outhouse that I have here. I would like to keep, I'm going to keep this is going to stay, so I'm just kind of going to work around it. So I'm going to put another raised bed here, but a thinner one. Then I'm probably going to put another two over here, and then some sort of seating over there. That's sort of like a loose plan. Eventually I'm actually going to get some cold frames. That's the dog's absolutely going mental around the garden. So I've got all of these pots which I've collected from last year that I'm going to reuse for my veg, for when I'm starting off my seedlings and that kind of thing. And you'll see, I'm going to show you another area where I'm planning to put in some cold frames. So if I come back out here, then I've got back to my gravelled path. And then this is just the outhouse that you saw before. It's huge. It's got electricity and heating in there, so I'm going to spruce that up a little bit and use it for something. I don't know what something. Then I have this tree here. I'm going to see if I can get a bit of advice on here, because from this angle you can see it's not looking so good. I think that's where the dog keeps peeing up it. So I'm wondering if there's anything I can do to just help it out a bit. Then over here, this is where I'm hoping to put the cold frames. This gets really good sunlight. It's got this shed here at the moment, which somebody is going to collect and make new use of, because I actually don't have a use for this shed. This space would be much better used for me personally with cold frames, so that's what I'm going to do. I should have said actually earlier, where the summer house was, somebody else has taken that, and they're gonna spruce that up and reuse it. Then I've got my big hedge, which again is going to stay. It's just going to be tidied a bit. I'm not a huge fan of the hedge, but the birds really like it, so it's staying. It's just going to get tidied. Then I have an area just here for my bins, which isn't really going to change. But the only other thing that I'm going to do is tidy up this area. I've got sort of like an alleyway at the side of the house. I'm going to add some plants here, but I need to do some research on what's going to do well here, considering it's quite shady. I would like to add some hanging baskets along there and some potted plants, just to kind of, like I said, spruce it up. And again, it'll be more space for more plants. So I will update you when there's something new to show.